21 years ago, my wife Brooke and I built our very first cabin on a small piece of property north of Fairbanks, Alaska. It wasn't a vacation home and it wasn't a getaway. It was our house. We built it because we didn't have much money and we had the material on the land to do it. We lived in that tiny cabin for 2.5 years until our daughter Belle was born. In this video, we're going to build a modern version of that same cabin design from 21 years ago on our remote off-grid property in the upper Midwest. So much has changed over the last 21 years, but the dream, the idea of having a cabin in the woods, someplace where you can get away from everything that's quiet and isolated, in today's world, that might mean more than it has ever meant. So come along with me as we build a remote off-grid cabin in the woods, start to finish. My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Bush Radical. After walking around this property for the better part of a year and a half looking for a cabin site that was conducive to this project, I finally found this spot. I can envision the cabin sitting right in here. Not only that, but it has a nice spruce tree right in the middle. And our original cabin had a spruce tree that we built a deck around. So this is the spot. Let's get to it. Now I'm going to build a treated wood post foundation, and I only need about 6-foot long posts, but I bought 10-footers so I could use the extra little chunk somewhere else. I brought my Harbor Freight sawmill up here, and I'm going to set that up soon, and I'll need those cut-off pieces to set the mill on. So I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Cut the post for the cabin, use the scrap for the sawmill. Now the first thing you'll discover on a building project like this is you need to find someplace to burn scrap. I'm going to be trimming trees through this whole process, trimming brush and dead branches, and I need a fire pit. Not only that, but once the cabin is complete, nothing is better than a fire pit. So that's one of the first things I'm going to tackle. I need to take these 2 trees out of here, and then I'll have a nice cleared area that I can establish a permanent fire pit. I'll have to bring some rocks up, because there's no rocks on this property. But for now, we're just going to get it down to sand. Then we can start burning up these dead branches that we're going to have to trim off of all the trees in this area, just to clean this site up. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Doing woodwork out in the wilderness by yourself with beautiful weather, it's pretty wonderful. It's hard to beat day one when you're building something in the woods, trimming trees and cutting and burning brush. You really get the gist of how things are going to look and how things are going to feel. You make a lot of progress in a short amount of time. When you put a cabin in a place like this, it's really no different than just a permanent campsite. And all I'm doing right now is just carving out a campsite. Now I'll keep feeding that fire all afternoon long, dialing in this site. It's nice to listen to that fire crackle as you're working, and when the wind shifts just a little bit, you get a nice whiff of it. Burning spruce on a cold, late fall day. I can't think of anything better. Now over the years I've built several cabins and I always try to build them a little different, just to try new stuff. But this is the second cabin I'm building using this treated post foundation, because I really like it. It's simple, it's easy, it's sturdy. Anybody can do it. Anybody can put this foundation in an afternoon. with just really simple tools. When you think about it, I have a hammer and a tape measure and a level, a shovel, and then this iron bar for packing the dirt back in. Pocket full of nails, that's about it. This cabin's going to be 12 foot by 12 foot and then have an 8-foot deck. So getting these two posts right, the first two posts, that means everything. To spike this together, I'm using a 4-inch galvanized ring shank nail, in case you're wondering. Once those first two posts are in, and they're nice and plumb, and they're at the right distance from each other, the cabin layout is pretty much set in stone. I can pull all my measurements off those first two posts. Now it's pretty chilly out, so while that saw warms up, I'm going to install these ledger boards. This ledger is kind of the interesting part of this foundation system. It splits the weight of the floor joist with that rim joist. And it also kind of cribs everything together. Makes a nice, easy, simple, rigid foundation. On this foundation, I'm going to drop in panels of plywood in between the floor joists and kind of make a false floor. Check out this guy. He's hitching a ride. Come on, get off my plywood. Go. Dropping the floor in from the top is going to be so much more enjoyable than nailing it up to the floor from underneath. A beautiful sunny day in the late fall can even make insulation seem enjoyable. This drop-in floor is working out even better than I hoped it would. I can stand in an empty cavity while I screw off the plywood and then insulate the cavity just in front of me. Sure is easy on you. Quite ergonomic that way. There's something therapeutic about nailing off plywood. There's not a lot of thinking to it. You just put it in place and then you slap the nails to it. I like that kind of work. But on the other hand, I'm not such a big fan of nailing off T111. Because half of the nails go inside those grooves, and then you have to re-nail them later on with a punch. Because you can't get your hammer down there. So it feels like you're nailing everything twice. Not the end of the world. It's a good trade-off, really, because the T111 siding, all you really have to do is stain it. Put a good log oil on it, anything like that. And it's a finished siding. That's a wonderful thing. Now here's a helpful tip for you. If you're building window openings like this, build them as a unit. And then you can put that whole unit down on the floor into the wall. Then you don't have to nail sideways. There's a million ways to do it, but that's a good one. I'm trying to make sure everything is flush and everything is nailed off good. Other than that, I'm just enjoying the weather, enjoying listening to the radio. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But today, it's a nice fall day. I think now's a pretty good time to put that stud right there that I completely forgot about. I didn't even make a mark on the layout. Just missed the 2-foot stud. A lot of time is spent just swapping nails. Take the big ones out of the pouch, put the small ones in the pouch. It's getting late into the season, and the weather here could be anything. There could be a foot of snow on the ground. But so far, so good. Today we're going to build a deck. And what is better on a cabin than a deck? Every time I build a deck, I'm just happy that I'm building a deck. Sitting on a deck never gets old. Now, when Brooke and I built our very first cabin, we had a spruce tree right in front of the cabin, and we built the deck around the tree. And it was always a joy. Always loved being out on the deck. The fact that I have a spruce tree in a clearing that I want to put a cabin in, I have to build a deck around it. It just makes sense. Now, because I want to wrap this deck around this spruce tree, and we've got pretty good sized roots, you can actually see there's a root running out right to about where a post would need to be. So I'm not going to dig posts for the deck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a pair of solid 4-inch concrete kind of block pavers, and then a short section of 6x6 post. I won't be damaging the tree roots because I want the tree to stay where it's at. Here you can see our original cabin with the deck in the same phase of construction, propped up by 2x4s temporarily. I squared the frame, and now that the frame is square, the distance from this edge to the tree is, it lands right in the middle of my layout. So I've had to modify this layout. This first gap is 24 and then it's 41, and then I split the difference between these last three. Now if you're building with plywood, your layout is really important. You have to be 12 on center, 16 on center, or 24 on center. But I'm using deck boards that are 12 feet long, and they're going all the way from one side of the deck to the other. So the layout really doesn't make any difference. The only thing that's really important is that I make room for my tree. Time to completely switch gears. I need logs to build my loft with. Real close to the building site there is this nice, standing dead, white spruce tree. It's perfect. It's exactly what I need. But I do need 2 of them, and I don't see another. Now, I love building with log, but in this cabin, the only log I'm going to use is 2 logs for the loft. But even just 2 logs are going to look fantastic. That log accent is going to be a welcome addition. I used the straightest 2x4 that I had, just tacked it down to the log, and I'm staying about 1/4 of an inch away from it with the bar of the chainsaw. This is a quick, simple, and fairly accurate way to mill a flat side on a log. After days and days of building with dimensional lumber and plywood, it's nice to work with something natural and abstract.
I wish my sister was here. She always said she liked peeling logs. I'd let her take the job. It's not quite cold enough out to be doing this without sweating. Well, I take just a breather for a second. Let's look at this log and see how straight that cut ended up. This is the flat surface. And I'd say that's good enough. Who needs Home Depot?
In case you're wondering why I haven't sheeted that 4th wall, well, this is why. I have to get that log up over top of the window headers. And if I was to sheet that wall, you'd never get it where I'm putting it. That log is more important than you think at this point. Pretty soon I'm going to have to start working on the roof, and I need something right there in the middle to support a temporary scaffolding that I can work off of. But in the meantime, it's supposed to rain over the weekend.
The reason I need the tarp on this is because I've insulated this floor already. I can't let the floor get wet, but I don't have my roof metal yet. And I don't have my roof built. It's obvious that my tarp, it did hold up, but the support that held the tarp up broke. And now I have a swimming pool. It's probably 40 gallons of water in there. I need to get all that water out of there without it blowing up and soaking this floor. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to deal with that.
So what I came up with was a ladder, a ratchet strap, and a 5-gallon bucket, and I have to say, it's working pretty good. I should have this thing empty pretty soon, and there's really no other way to get at it than from above. You couldn't dare cut that tarp from underneath. It's liable to just explode. Now that that disaster's cleaned up, I can move on to making rafters for the roof. This roof is going to be an 11-12 pitch roof. The reason I chose that is because it works out to be roughly a 10-foot rafter, and I can buy metal that I don't have to cut, or special order.
So this will be my purpose-built square for this roof. Use it to lay out my rafters. You're going to see in a minute.
One side of this square is 22 inches long. That's my 11 side. The other side is 24 inches long. That's my 12-inch side. What I'm doing is I use this just as a giant speed square. One side of it I use for the vertical marks, and the other side I use for the horizontal marks. Right here I'm cutting out the bird's mouth. The bird's mouth has two cuts, the face cut and the seat cut. The face cut goes up against the sheeting on the side of the building. The seat cut sits down flat on top of the wall. And I've got some work to do before I can get up there and start building the roof. And the first step is I've got to get this log spiked down. So anything I set on top of this log that I'm going to eventually be standing on doesn't move. Sure is nice to get to this point. You always feel like you've accomplished something when you start building the roof. And it's nice to be up high and have a better view. Putting up the rafters always makes you feel like you got something done. But the truth of the matter is, once the rafters are up, which is kind of the easy part, there's all kinds of little work that has to be done. The gables have to be filled in with gable studs. The gables have to be sheeted. There's all kinds of cuts to make. Then you've got to put all the 2x4 nailers on top of the roof, and then the squirrel blocks in between, and the bird blocks on the top of the wall. You got to put the gussets on the other side. And pretty soon, you realize, even though you thought you were making real good progress, you had a lot more to do than what you really admitted. Well, I got half of the roof roofed. I threw the green tarp over the whole thing again, and then I ran for windows. And when I came back, well, this is what I came back to. Now, I like to build roofs, but putting on the metal, well, there's nothing fun about that. And working in the snow, there's nothing fun about that either. So today I'm taking it real slow. I'm being real careful. Because this really isn't my thing, being on a roof when it's snowy and icy. And that's why I'm using this 20,000 pound tow strap to slide down the roof, because there's no way to walk down this roof and get on that ladder. I gotta admit, the snowfall kind of ruined my day. Been having wonderful weather up until now, and seeing it snowy without the roof being finished was, well, it was depressing. But now that the roof metal is on and the windows are on, man, we're in fantastic shape. Having the place dried in brings a whole new outlook on this job. Let it snow, let it rain, everything inside is going to stay dry. Time to go cut that second loft log. There's so many videos on YouTube about building a cabin, and they're really popular. And I think one of the things that people really love about the idea of building a cabin is just a day like this. Being out in the middle of the wilderness by yourself, peeling a log, it's quiet, being nice and toasty, good simple work. I think that's what a lot of people would really appreciate about an experience like this. It's cold, it's below freezing, but when you're busy, you know, it's fine, feels good. That's a nice looking log. Now the first loft log we put in is sitting on top of those window headers. For the second one, I'm going to have to build supports. And because I can set the log up on one support and then kind of fit in the pieces of the other support, I could put this log in while the building is sided on that side. The other one, I couldn't do that.
Fat dudes with asthma shouldn't be doing this sort of thing. Whew. Oh, let's go have a fire.
I'd have a fire like this every night if I could.
That's nice. That is nice.
I just keep trimming these trees up, cleaning this site. And whenever I have enough scrap and brush, I have a nice bonfire. Wonderful. Today I'm going to build a set of steps. Something I should have did the same day I built the deck. But I figured I'd just procrastinate. Then after 3 weeks of jumping up and down off of this deck, going in and out of the building, well, I figured it was about time I got this part of the job done.
Well, the generator just died. So far, I've built this entire cabin on 1 gallon of gas in that generator. So I think it's time I take a walk. We'll go grab the gas can, which is a quarter mile that way. I think you guys are gonna find this pretty interesting when we get over here. This is kind of the end of the trail. And we pop out through these trees and turn a corner, and there's my cabin. And that's how you get from one cabin site to the other. Why do I need 2 cabins in the first place? I'd like to have other people up here. I'd like to have people visit. And just to have some place for other folks to go. You know, if Brooke and I are up and it's cold, we're both going to be staying in this cabin. But I'd like to have a guest cabin. So people want to come fish the river or go up and fish Lake Superior or some of the lakes that are around here. There'd be room for everybody. Take a minute, make myself a late breakfast before I get back at it. How's that? You know, this porch has become my favorite place to eat breakfast. And that's my breakfast view. And for dessert, how about some cherry pie filling? Oh yeah, who's got it figured out now? Just take this stupid thing off right now so it works. Man, I hate those stupid gas nozzles.
Well, with fresh gas in the Jenny, I could stuff a few more screws in these treads, and they're good to go. I would have used the cordless drill, but it's pretty much out of juice. Well, with that snowfall, I thought we were pretty much done for the season. But things are warming back up and all the snow is going away, which is fantastic. Time to put the chimney in, because if I can get the chimney in, I can heat the inside of this building. And if I can heat the inside of this building, I can work on the inside of this building no matter what the weather's like. I've been installing this same type of a chimney system since the first cabin. Metal plate on the outside, metal plate on the inside, dead airspace in between, insulated pipe through the wall. Very simple, safe, affordable. Just works good. Doesn't take much of a wood stove to heat a cabin this size. Now with any new wood stove, you should set it up outdoors and put a good hot fire in it, because that high temperature stove paint is going to burn off and it's going to bake on and cure, and it smokes and it stinks.
I've been sitting here watching that stove cook for about 40 minutes now, just because the next thing is doing insulation, and I don't really want to.
For a lot of my life, my occupation has been finishing concrete, which just goes to show I'm used to doing work nobody else wants to do. But when it comes to insulation, I just don't really have a soft spot for it. I don't mind it, but I would rather somebody else do it.
Well, you can see our stove over there. It's doing better. It's not just smoking and fuming everywhere. You can see she's good and hot. I haven't smelt it for a while either. Probably still stinks, but at least it isn't smoking.
I've been looking forward to doing tongue and groove for quite a while now. I actually bought this tongue and groove probably 10 days ago, and it's been sitting here on the deck, and I've been worrying about it. Rain and snow, and I just want to get it on the wall, because I hand-picked every piece of this, and it wasn't easy finding 45 good pieces. Now, tongue and groove is a little expensive, but you can't beat the benefits you get out of it. It looks fantastic, and it's not sheetrock. It's a win-win. The days around here are pretty much dictated by sunup and sundown. If it's too dark to film or too dark to work, well, you're pretty much shut down. So today I'm going to keep putting up this tongue and groove, and when I get up towards the top, I'm going to install an LED light strip. It'll just be temporary. I'll probably move it somewhere a little nicer later on. But to have light, and if I can get the stove in to have indoor heat, wow, that's a game changer. So long as there's not 3 feet of snow out there in the trail, I'll be able to drive in and out of here. I can just keep working, night and day.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice.
Sure changes everything to see the lights on inside. Makes it look homey. Well, tonight there's a winter weather advisory for this county. We could get 5 inches of snow, and the temperature's going to go from the mid-30s down to the high teens. So today is probably going to be my last day. Thanksgiving was a week ago. We're getting real close to December. I've got to be done with this, and I think the weather is going to make that decision for me. So I'm going to make a mad dash today and get as much done as I can. Honestly, there's not a thing to complain about. I've had about the best weather I could hope for this time of year. Shouldn't be too long here and I'll have the wood stove in. And once the wood stove is in, it's kind of a different ball game. But even if I can heat this cabin, doesn't mean I can drive in here once there's 3 feet of snow on the ground. We'll just do what we can with the time we have. And that's really all any of us can do, no matter what we're talking about. Just do the best we can with the time we have. Join the journey. Lighten that first fire inside your cabin. This is the moment you look forward to, right from the very first hole you dig or the first nail you drive. Sure is satisfying. With about an hour left of daylight, cleaning up this mess is now my new priority. Sure does make the place pop to get all the construction material and tools out of the way. Get everything swept up. Sure, I've had a wonderful time on this building project, and I'm so grateful for the weather. It's been about as good as you could ask for. Not only that, but I'm so far back here, I haven't heard a vehicle since I started this project. What a gift. Oh, yeah. Whew. A remote, off-grid cabin in the woods. I hope you've all enjoyed this building project as much as I have. If you want to see a deep dive on this cabin, with nothing but commentary and details, click the link on the right-hand corner of your screen. And if you want to check the playlist of all my other cabin building videos, click the link on the left. My name's Dave Whipple, and you've been watching Bush Radical. And be radical, eh? See you soon.